In 1910, Minnesota's first state forester, William T. Cox, wrote a book centered around some of the strangest animals and folklore I've ever seen. In this book, or field guide as some might call it, it showcases descriptions and drawings of North American folklore, also known as fearsome critters, which were mainly just joke tales told around campfires. The drawings come from Cubworth Dubois, I apologize if I got that name wrong, who does a good job giving them a healthy blend of horror and hilarity. Although, in all honesty, I'm not entirely sure if that was his intention. It's said that these creatures usually hang around wooded areas and logging camps. These stories mainly became a form of tradition as the whole idea was for it to be more comical and used as a way to scare others who were maybe new to the area or weren't familiar with the folklore. However, this didn't stop William from documenting these various stories, which have resulted in the most ridiculous and hilarious depictions of fictional animals I have ever seen. I know most of you are probably used to the more dinosaur related stuff here on the channel, but for the sake of the Halloween season, I figured it would be a nice little one-off special to show you guys the other oddities that I've come across on the internet. I also want to mention that I am aware that there is a 2015 remake of this book that's more updated, but that's maybe saved for another video. For now, I'm going to be looking at the original 1910 version. So let's get into William T. Cox's field guide on the fearsome creatures of Lumberwood with a few desert and mountain beasts. The Hueg Gag was a moose-sized animal with a drooping upper lip, was hairless from the neck up, and had long straight legs that apparently had no joints at all, meaning it was unable to bend or lie down. Because of this, the animal remains in a constant walking state and at night can only go as far as leaning against a tree in order to rest. But this was a risk for the animal too, as hunters would leave notches on the trees so that when the Hueg Gag goes to lean on it, it topples down, leaving it completely vulnerable. Despite this method, the last Hueg Gag that was killed was actually stuck in the mud and was knocked over the head by those who were hunting it. The animal is known to roam in the western Wisconsin, northern Minnesota area, along with being in territories more up north around the Hudson Bay area. The Gumbaroo is not only one of the more deadly creatures in this book, but also one of the rarest as well. It's said that the ones that are left reside in the base of a burnt down cedar tree, and only every now and again will one be seen, and when they are on the hunt for food as they're described to always be hungry and are able to eat a lot in a single sitting. While generally slow, the animal has great endurance when it comes to food and will eat almost anything it is able to reach. As far as the animal's physical features, it is a wide, almost hairless creature that has a coal black color to it, most likely the result of being dirtied by the charred wood of the cedar tree they live in. The creature is also known to have a very strong skin layer, being able to ricochet any form of attack. Not even a bullet is able to fully pierce through the Gumbaroo's thick skin, which makes it difficult to hunt. However, one thing that is able to stop them is fire, as the Gumbaroos are able to catch fire easily due to their bodies being more combustible than that of regular animals. So during forest fire, the Gumbaroo is at its most vulnerable state, which technically most animals are anyways. Another rare creature in North American folklore, the Roperite is an extremely bizarre, fast-moving creature with its main physical feature being that of its rope-like beak, which it uses to catch its prey and drag them off. Very little is known about the creature and its origins. Some say that they are the spirits of early Spanish ranchers. They are prone to be sighted around the foothills of Sierras where they spend their days hunting for prey. And you'll know when the Roperite is coming after you, for it has sets of rattles that go off when it's chasing after prey. And prey unlucky enough to be chased by the Roperite will not be able to outrun it, as it is known to be extremely fast. It also has resilient skin and flipper legs, making it resistant to thorns and sharp rocks. The Roperite is truly one of the stranger animals on this list. The Snollygoster is a legless crocodile-like creature with a single large spike protruding from its back. Despite not having any legs, the creature had bony plates at the end of its tail that essentially served as propellers to help push the animal forward when it needed to go on the move. However, there were other, more disturbing uses for these propellers. The Snollygoster was known to prey on humans, and if it managed to capture any, it would impale them on its large back spike, which it would use to save their food for later. It would continue doing this until there is enough food for a meal. It will then use its tail to drill a large hole in the mud, where it then throws its dead victims in, to which it then beats and grinds them up with its tail, making it easy for it to consume. These creatures are extremely dangerous and are said to be present in the swampier regions of southern states, more specifically in Florida. Not something I thought I'd see on this list, but apparently leprechauns were at one point somewhat present in the upper Canadian region, that were brought in from Ireland for some reason. According to this book, the last of their native species were killed and eaten by the Irish during the last famine they had endured. While they were known to be harmless and even playful in their native lands, they had a complete change in behavior once they made their way to North America. They were creatures that were feared and avoided, and spent their time near the Madawaska River in search of food. There was even a recorded account of a leprechaun attacking someone who was transporting goods and using a road near the area. Despite the leprechaun's sharp teeth and claws grabbing and snapping at the man, he was able to get away from the creature. The funeral mountain Terrashot was a casket-shaped creature with long wobbly legs, giving it a distinct swaying motion when it walked. After they were sighted making their way through uncharted mountain regions by a group of Mormon immigrants, the Mormons would actually name the mountains based on the creatures they had witnessed. From that point on, the mountain range would be known as the Funeral Mountains. The Funeral Mountain Terrashots were said to have lived in the upper ranges of the mountain where there were meadows and parks, but seemingly out of nowhere they started migrating their way out of there and down the mountain towards a more desert-like region. This would be a fatal decision for the Terrashots because as they attempted to travel through the hot sands of the desert, they began to bloat up from the heat and literally combusted one after the other. I guess you could say they went out with a bang. The Slide Rock Bolter resides at the steepest mountains of Colorado, and the reason why that is due to a rather unconventional style of hunting. As you can see, this creature has no legs, but rather a large tail with divided flippers at the end of it that contains grab hooks, which the bolter uses to hook itself on the edge of the mountain ridge. The idea is, when the bolter sees unsuspecting prey up the mountain or is hanging around the foot of the mountain, it unhooks itself and avalanches its way towards them, gulping them up as it makes its way down. To increase its momentum, the creature also drools off the sides of its mouth as it goes downhill, making it slide down the mountain with relative ease. Definitely an interesting hunting tactic. An animal that has stumped many, the tote-road Shaggama, what the fuck is with these names, is said to leave tracks similar to that of bears, but has also left tracks similar to that of mooses. It was eventually found out by a hunter known as Gus Demo, who had come across the tracks that he recognized as moose tracks and followed them, only to discover this creature, that the Shaggama had the hind legs similar to that of a moose, and front legs similar to that of a bear. What's stranger is that the Shaggama would walk a certain distance on its hind legs, leaving moose-like prints, then hop onto its front legs and walk a certain distance on its front legs, leaving behind bear-like prints. Why it did this, I'm not really sure, but the reason it was going in a specific direction at a certain pace could be explained through the fact that the animal may be imitating people who worked in the area. Surveyors, timber cruisers, and trappers are known to patiently follow lines through the woods, so it's possible the Shaggama may be copying their direction, but this seems to just be a theory. The Wapaluci is one of the smaller creatures in this book, but has some interesting features to it. One thing that the Wapaluci is known for is climbing, being able to get to the top of any tree without any struggle. This is due to its feet and toes being built similarly to that of a woodpecker and a spike at the end of its tail. But the most peculiar thing about this creature was discovered after a lumberjack had shot one around the Hump Tulips River area in Washington. The lumberjack figured he could turn it into a nice pair of mittens, and so he did. After he made them, he used them during work, and as he was using the axe to cut wood, the mittens began to naturally move up the handle of the axe without the control of the lumberjack. It seems that whatever the lumberjack touched with the mittens, they would attempt to climb that very thing. He would eventually get rid of the mittens, and apparently they were last seen climbing up logs in the forest. Definitely one of the funnier ones on the list, the Cactus Cat was a creature that only elders really knew about, and it's been said that they have thorny fur, a branched tail, and sharp blades of bones on its front legs above its feet. It uses these blades to cut open the base of cactus trees to expose the sap within it for the cat to consume. But the Cactus Cat does things in a certain way with this, slashing open many trees before consuming the sap inside. It spends several days and nights slashing open trees and does so in a specific route that leads back to the first tree. What makes this creature funny is that by the time it gets back to the beginning tree, the sap within that tree would ferment into a mescal, essentially becoming somewhat alcoholic. When the cat would get around to drinking the sap, it would become intoxicated, and as a result, at least according to this book, it would waltz into the night and scream in delight. What a wonderful creature. And I think that's a good place to leave it for now. There are definitely more creatures within this book, and don't worry, I'll go over the rest of them in part 2 of this little special. Sorry to have to split this video up on you guys, but I really don't want this video to get too long as I'm already working on a few other big projects at the moment. But don't worry, along with part 2 of this video, I also have another Halloween related video planned that's currently in the works right now. However, expect both of these things sometime next month because October is literally over in a few days or however long. I'm not even really sure when I'm uploading this video. At the time that I'm recording this, it doesn't even matter because there's no way I'll be able to get either of those videos out before the end of the month. So again, expect them sometime in November. Thank you guys for your patience and have a safe, happy Halloween.